Happy week 2 of The Bachelor. Peter may not be over his ex, and Kelsey hates snakes.
Hey you guys, welcome back to our shared Bachelor recap. I am Renee Ariel.
And I'm Fiona Zaring.
And a lot happened in this episode, so I feel like it's only fair if we break down everything in 60 seconds for you. On last night's episode of The Bachelor, Hannah and Peter get real cozy and almost fall back into old patterns until Peter eventually stops in and tells her he can't do this. Peter then cancels the group date entirely and says he'll see everyone at the cocktail party. That night at the cocktail party, we finally get Champagne Gate, which is basically just Kelsey thinking Hannah Ann opened her special champagne on purpose that she for some reason saved for a year. Peter tries comforting her, they open another bottle of champagne, which then explodes in Kelsey's face. Later, she decides to confront Hannah Ann about the whole thing, calling her a princess and calculated, while Hannah Ann stays calm and apologizes, saying she didn't know. Rose ceremony happens, and Peter sends home 3 women, one of which was Lauren, which was very sad for me. At the next group date, the ladies show off their runway skills with Revolve, and it comes down to Hannah Ann and Victoria F, until Hannah Ann eventually takes the crown and wins a shit ton of clothes. Victoria F has a breakdown, Peter cheers her up. And later on, Hannah Ann tells on Kelsey for bullying, Peter confronts Kelsey and she denies it, and Peter doesn't know what to do. The end. It was truly a wild episode, filled with drama, but overall, what did you think?
Oh my God, I loved this episode. This episode is like the reason you tune in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Right?
The producers really worked their magic.
I was gonna say.
in every way for our entertainment. So much to dive into, but let's start with Hannah Brown because we wrapped up the conversation with her and Peter. What a weird conversation. Can we just talk about the fact she said, selfishly, let's just hop on a flight. What was that about?
I don't cringe a lot with Hannah Brown, but I thought that was kind of cringe. Just because I was like, oh, I want this to stop happening. I want her to snap out of it. I want him to snap out of it. Like, they should just both move on and both be happy and like give each other a fresh start. And then she was like, want to go catch a flight? And I was like,
where?
To where? This is not a romantic comedy. People don't just catch flights in real life. Like, come on, Hannah.
You guys also both just signed contracts for different shows. Like, you're on Dancing with the Stars, he's The Bachelor.
Could you imagine, like, what would have happened? I am so happy. I think the Dancing with the Stars journey was so good for her.
Yeah.
If she had just given that up,
No, she won that mirror ball, and it was because Peter kind of rejected her. But here's the thing, here's my question. Do you think that this conversation actually got closure? Because Chris Harrison kept teasing, they needed to have this, it gave them closure, but all I saw was like an unfinished conversation.
I was gonna say, I know we're like kind of billing it as that, like, not to step away from Hannah, but the thing that really shook me was like, how is Peter gonna handle this? Because there are like awkward real life moments where you run into an ex and you're like, I sort of am seeing someone, do I tell them, do I not tell them? He had to walk out of that conversation and then go stand with like 8 girls lined up. Like, how dare you? All 8 girls at once. Like, that has got to be every guy's nightmare realized.
Yeah.
And I think he handled it as well as he could, but I also feel like he billed it to them as very much so as like, we needed to have that conversation. And I was like, you both left that conversation like dusting each other off, like, okay, we're good, right? I didn't think it was as like, wow, we're at peace now.
Yeah, there was no closure that was had that we saw in
I was saying, unless we didn't see it, unless they like let them have that private, unless the producers were like, we'll gift them that. We'll keep that private.
Yeah, I'm excited though for the girls to watch this back because
I
they didn't see it unfold and they probably thought it was way less intimate and cozy.
There was a lot more back rubbing than I think I would have been comfortable with if I was one of the 8 women dating.
So lucky.
On a date with him while that was going down.
But Peter had a pretty rough week this week because we first had the Hannah B drama, and then you guys, we finally got Champagne Gate, which I feel like it's a lot to unpack, right?
It is.
I feel like maybe what would help me, maybe you as well, is if we could see it visually, what happened.
I think we might need to like really work this one out.
Let's do it.
Let's break it down.
Okay, you guys, it's time to take a closer look at what really happened during Champagne Gate, shall we? First of all, who are the people involved in Champagne Gate?
Let's identify the players. First we have Kelsey.
Kelsey. Young Kelsey. Innocent Kelsey. Just wanted to have some champagne with Peter. But unfortunately...
Wait, she wanted to have some what champagne?
her special champagne.
That
Was
she
it
saved for
1 year?
player number 2.
Hannah Ann. And who else was involved in this, Fiona? The Bachelor.
I think there's one
Peter.
other very important player
That is true. That is true.
that we can't forget,
That we don't really know.
that we don't know, we can't identify. If you watched Unreal, I'm picturing this as Rachel.
Rachel, the producer, whose name probably isn't Rachel.
Let's call her Rachel, though, for fun.
Rachel.
So let's talk about what happened
Yes.
with champagne bottle
Yes.
number 1.
Okay. You guys, picture this. Kelsey didn't get a lot of time that first night in The Bachelor. She made very clear while crying. She wanted to have a special moment with Peter the Bachelor. So she traveled all the way from, where is she from? Start with a D.
Des Moines.
Des Moines, with a very expensive bottle of champagne that she saved for over a year.
She's got her champagne. She's got a fireplace. She's got the assistance of Rachel.
Yep.
She sets up her setup, and she goes to find Peter. He is, in fact, with McKenna. She's very upset about that, but McKenna didn't know, so that was sort of like a red flag that maybe Kelsey was a little intoxicated and not thinking totally clear.
No. From there, Kelsey starts to feel a little bit better. Was it because she talked herself through it, or was the alcohol? That's a secret she'll never tell. But Kelsey sets up her little setup, is waiting around for Peter. But Peter is with Hannah Ann. And do you know what Peter and Hannah Ann stumble upon?
Rachel,
Rachel,
I'm pretty sure.
we think, who then takes them to Kelsey's champagne. They open the bottle of champagne, and do you know who hears it because they like to pop it on the show? Kelsey.
Kelsey.
Do you know who's not happy about it?
Kelsey.
Kelsey. From there, Kelsey has a little bit of a breakdown in the bathroom. Peter hears about it because she's not very quiet about it, goes after Kelsey. But Kelsey doesn't want to talk to him, so he goes back to Hannah Ann.
Then Kelsey joins them.
Kelsey joins them. She's not happy about it. She says, "Excuse me," but not in the nice way, and starts going a little bit at Hannah Ann, saying that she did it on purpose and she knew.
Hannah Ann looks bewildered at this point, and I believe it was who?
Oh, Tammy?
Tammy.
Tammy.
Tammy comes out and lets Hannah Ann know that that was, in fact, the very special bottle of champagne. Hannah Ann, this is where opinion comes into the matter, but in my opinion, looked genuinely shocked.
I think so as well.
I think so. Let's just, for argument's sake, say that she was
She didn't
shocked.
know.
Let's circle back to Rachel,
Rachel.
the Rachel of it all. There is a moment that I think we really need to draw attention to, where
Yes.
Hannah Ann is telling somebody, they said, go have champagne with Peter. Who's they?
Rachel.
Rachel. This is where a second bottle of champagne comes into the mix.
Because plot twist.
There was
Bottle.
a second champagne setup right over here, causing no drama, just waiting to be drank.
But was it Kelsey's birthday champagne?
No, it was Hannah's champagne.
Did the producers know because they know everything going on the show? Yes.
Do they get a gold star?
Probably a bonus. So, what we're trying to say is, a producer had another champagne set up for Hannah Ann and Peter, but to cause drama, actually had them go to Kelsey's champagne, which she knew because it was probably a lot more expensive than the champagne that The Bachelor had. So, from there, because it's not over yet, Kelsey is comforted by Peter. How, you may ask? Because they find the other setup. But, I don't know if you saw, but Kelsey knocked over the champagne, and if you shake champagne, what happens?
It explodes.
It explodes. Kelsey tried being cute and said, let's not drink from glasses, let's drink out of the bottle.
Let's chug, because that's cute.
That's super cute, and she hasn't had too much to drink already. And when she tries to take a sip, kaplooey. All on her face. She laughed about it in the scene, but in an ITM directly after, she said she was done.
So, to summarize,
In conclusion.
Rachel created Champagne Gate.
Yes.
And currently is laughing somewhere with a raise.
So then we have a rose ceremony, which is so early on, like who cares about who's going home
I
at this
don't
point?
remember it.
Except Do you know who did go home?
Oh, your girl.
Lauren! Jumpsuit girl. That was sad for me. That's the only part that anyone cares about, well, at least that I care about.
Somebody else went home, and I remember sitting there being like, oh, cute, but I couldn't remember her name. I feel like the rose ceremonies weren't that emotional yet.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
It'll get juicier.
But then we had another date full of drama, the Revolve date, which producers set up because Hannah Ann is a model and like knows how to strut on the runway.
Or the people at Revolve were just really smart and were like, let's just get a jump on things. Let's figure out who we're gonna give brand deals to now. It'll really move things along. Let's get them in our clothes earlier. I thought it was a really big win-win for everyone.
I agree. Actually, I thought this was a very fun date.
I did too. I loved it. I didn't really get what was a date about it, but I thought it was fun TV. I loved watching it.
I will say, I did not expect it to come down to Hannah Ann and Victoria F. Victoria F was not even on my radar for who would finish off the modeling runway thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who I knew Hannah Ann. I thought it would come down to Hannah Ann because like she's a model.
If it didn't, then that would have been
really embarrassing for her. There was someone else who did well initially. I honestly thought because of all of the Champagne Gate, I think what I thought was like Kelsey did a good enough job. It's gonna come down to Hannah and Kelsey, and then Hannah's gonna win and whatever. But I was happy that they gave us like another note of the episode, and it was Victoria F. Honestly, Hannah and Victoria couldn't have taken more polar opposite approach. Like when Hannah came out in that wedding dress that obviously a producer had in a garment bag and slipped her behind the scenes.
That was not a Revolve wedding dress. Can we just say this?
Or it was, but it was not. The racks were like dressy cash, and all of a sudden there's a wedding dress or a prom dress or whatever stashed to the side. Like, all of the girls would have been fighting over that. But whatever, that's the magic of the show. When she came out in that wedding dress, I was like, oh, they have to give it to her.
Oh,
like the confidence, like what a move. But then Victoria F did the same thing, just the polar opposite approach in her leather trench and lingerie. Like they took two very different like tacks, but it was the same deal. It was like no one else can top what I just did, except for the other one. They were totally tied.
Yeah, I will say, like, you can say what you want about Hannah Ann, but you can't say that girl's not confident.
She is.
Listen, Victoria was confident, like, on the runway, but obviously she was having breakdowns backstage. Hannah Ann has been keeping it cool and collected the entire time so far that I'm, like, almost waiting for her to crack. Because this is a very like toxic environment. I feel like being totally disconnected from the world, only surrounded by like people you've just met, fighting with the same guy, alcohol. I'm like waiting. Everyone cracks usually on the show. I'm waiting for her.
So here's the thing. Last week, I was very much of the opinion that I was like, oh, I'm getting some like bad juju from Hannah Ann when she was confronted by Sheehan, getting it. When she was confronted by Shannon, she was just like a zombie about it. I was like, oh, this girl is scary. Like this girl is so calculated. She's got so much going for her. This week, and I also didn't like McKenna with the airplane throwing. This week, I was like, I think both of them kind of might be on the lower end of the crazy spectrum, and we judged them too soon because during Champagne Gate, Hannah Ann had her character like assassinated by Kelsey. I have never seen a girl flip a switch on someone else like that so fast.
Don't talk to me.
Okay.
Don't talk to me. You know what you did. Don't talk to me.
I respect your opinion. If you don't want to talk, then.
And she just like nodded her head, let her say all of those things about her, defended herself to a point, realized it wasn't worth it, that she wasn't going to change her mind, kept her head held high and walked away.
Yeah.
And like she later reveals that she spent the night crying and all that jazz, but like in the moment, she, in my opinion, kind of kept her cool in a way that someone who is as like low-key bitchy as I initially kind of read her as, I don't think could have done. I don't think someone who is like genuinely a scary, nasty person who like has that in them could have stood there, taken that and been like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, no, she would have been screaming at her.
Yeah.
I almost feel like she's a little more, and I know this is gonna come out mean, but like boring than I thought she was. Like,
I can see her being a little bit calculated, but also I don't think she's a bad person. No. I also don't think the Champagne Gate was on purpose at all. Whatever. But I think she was the winner of the episode because she came out on top. Listen, I will say Victoria F also had her moment to shine this episode because though she had a breakdown on the date, she got Peter to comfort her in a way that even my heart was touched. And I like dissect reality TV to a T where I'm like, the producer did. This moment got me.
I know, and it got me too, but the thing is, it's based on her, like, I want her to be confident in herself. I don't want her to, like, her whole thing is, like, she just wants him to see her. She just wants him to see her. And, like, I thought the moment was touching, and I thought Peter handled it well, but I also sort of was like, see yourself.
I agree, but there was, I got a quote from their talk where Victoria F says, when she's in the room with him, I don't know if I'm made out for this. I like you, I do, but I just don't know if it's worth my mental health. I see you making connections with people who are so different from me. I just feel like there's so many other girls here. I don't know how to catch your attention. And this spoke to me more than obviously her being like, I want him to see me, I want him to see me.
That's a little more like balance.
This is relatable.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We are forgetting, like, these aren't just people in their day-to-day lives. Like, this is a very unique environment that sets up to bring out all of your insecurities. It does. So if you're not totally secure with yourself 100%, it'll come out one way or another. And obviously it comes out earlier for other girls. So this spoke to me. I know we're gonna get into some Victoria F drama in the season. We've all seen it. I'm not gonna get into it now. But right now, I did find this sweet and relatable.
It was a sweet moment.
And in a moment, it didn't come across like he was just like pitying her. You know what I mean?
No,
like it wasn't
he
a pity
seems
party.
to genuinely care.
Totally. But moving on to the end of the date, like the nighttime cocktail party situation after the Revolve date. Yeah, Hannah Ann got all those clothes. Let's just talk about that.
Oh my God.
Honestly, like goals. I wish
Nothing to even say. Just so lucky.
So lucky. Okay, so this is where Hannah Ann tells on Kelsey for bullying her, which she was. We can't deny that. Like, I watched that several times today because I was actually trying to find one quote from the episode and couldn't find it, so I watched Champagne Gate like 5 times. But she was real mean, and so I understand why she brought it up to Peter. It's an uncomfortable environment, I would think.
Here's the thing. My sister and I talked about this at length, and what she was saying is it's really, really hard because it's really difficult for either person to come out looking good when you go to the Bachelor or the Bachelorette and like tattle on someone else, basically. It's really hard for either person to come out looking not just like a tattletale.
Yeah.
And she's right, because Kelsey sat down and started to cry, and Peter was left like, he looked like a confused preschool teacher. He like did not know what to do. He came in all like guns blazing, like, I'm gonna talk to Kelsey about bullying. And the minute Kelsey was like, I didn't do it, he was like, oh, okay.
Well, what do I
how do I, all right, I hear you. And then he just like shut it down because it's a really hard position for that person to be in.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Hannah Ann of it all, I don't really fault her because I think what Kelsey did was out of line. I don't think she had a right to talk to her that way. I think there were 100 other ways she could have handled that situation.
Or if you were drunk and you acted out, apologize the next day. I mean, listen, I don't think there's like any excuse for acting that way, but if you were just so intoxicated that you
Because she clearly was drunk.
She was. You apologize the next day, and she didn't.
And she didn't. So, like, yeah, exactly. That's sort of like, I do understand why Hannah brought it up to Peter, because at the end of the day, something I seem to really harp on and have the hardest time, like, diving into the show and letting go is they're not there to be friends with each other. They're there to all date the same guy. And if you're trying to share a boyfriend with a girl who bullied you like that, that's a really hard person to go on group dates with and be pitted against at every moment. Like, you gotta protect yourself more than anything. So I kind of got it. I understood.
One thing I'll compare this to, by the way, I know you didn't watch last season, or not last season, Colton's season of The Bachelor. This is what it kind of reminded me of. Do you remember when Hannah B and Kaylin were pit against each other, and Hannah B brought it up to Colton, and then when he confronted Kaylin, she just immediately started crying, and we found out later on she was a little bit more manipulative. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. I found the same tactic with Kelsey. She just immediately started crying, and that's not really answering any questions.
No, that's like kind of a really good way to deflect guilt.
Just saying. All right, you guys, because this show is the special show we know and love, and there's many quotes being said that don't make sense or are a little stupid, we thought we would do our deep thoughts on dumb quotes. This week's quote comes from Kelsey.
Do I think she's a snake and sneaky? Yeah, absolutely. I don't tolerate snakes. I don't like them. They're my least favorite animal.
I don't tolerate snakes. I don't like them. They're my least favorite animal. What are your thoughts on this? Do you like snakes?
I hate snakes. They might be my least favorite animal too. I think what Kelsey was going for here with this really like emotionally charged statement was that
how would you describe snake versus snaky? Do you think those are interchangeable?
Snake versus snaky?
Yeah.
I think that, sure, we can go into this. I think that you can be a snake.
Yeah.
Or you can slip up and behave snaky. Just like you can be shady at your core, or you can have a shady moment. And I think that what she was trying to say here is that Hannah Ann at her core is a snake, and she's always going to behave snaky, so that there was no world in which Hannah's intentions here couldn't be snaky.
Yeah. She doesn't tolerate snakes.
And she doesn't tolerate snakes. And she doesn't like them as animals. But what I'm really curious to know is, are we going to see her in any sort of snakeskin print this season? Because that's kind of trendy, and I feel like her vibe, I could see her rocking like a snakeskin sandal or something, and that would be a direct contradiction of this very, very deep quote.
Well, she is trying to make hashtag crying is cool happen, but we won't get into that. Do you think crying is cool? Comment down below. Okay, before we go, I want to get into some predictions, because as we saw, the champagne gate is far from over. They're bringing it up again next episode. We don't know if they're confronting each other, because it looks like it's just like single.
It's hard to tell, yeah.
With the
I
camera
hope they
angles.
sit down and talk.
Me too, but what do you think is going to happen if they do? Do you think it'll, like, the drama will end next episode, or will this just be the beginning?
I don't think the drama will end, mainly because, as we just illuminated in that quote, I think that Kelsey has her mind like made up about Hannah Ann, so maybe they will sort of come to a, what's the word, like a ceasefire and try to move forward if they talk it out, but I don't necessarily think there's like a friendship in their future.
I think the smart thing to do would be for them to just let bygones be bygones next episode. But what I think is going to happen is it's going to continue on, and Kelsey will eventually get sent home because, which we're going to get into our front runners, I think that Hannah Ann is an obvious front runner along with Madison. What do you think?
I agree 100%. I think Hannah Ann seems like a front runner. He leapt into action to defend her, which I think is a very good sign. I agree, Madison and him, it was a very brief moment, but she still seems to be like totally at the top of his list. We saw nothing from Kelly.
Where's Kelly?
Where's Kelly? I want Kelly next week.
Me too. But you guys, on that note, we would love to hear your thoughts. Who do you think the current front runner is, and what do you think is going to happen with Champagne Gate? Because honestly, I have questions. But before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because we will be back here every week.
And click right over here for another new video.
As always, I'm your host, Renee Ariel. You can follow me on socials at Renee Ariel.
And I'm Fiona Zaring. You can follow me on socials at Fiona Zaring, and we'll see you guys next time.